Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. My name is Daphne Worrell, Marketing Manager for ODG by MCG, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's webinar, Introducing the New ODG by MCG. During this webinar, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the chat feature located in the lower corner of your screen. We'll save some time at the end for your questions, and any questions that we don't get to, we'll get back to you via email. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent to you within 1 week. Right here, I've got our participant dial-in numbers. For those of you who would rather not listen on your computer, you can go ahead and dial in with your phone. And I'd like to introduce our presenter, Suzanne Swirsky, Account Executive for ODG by MCG. Suzanne has been with ODG for 9 years and is an account executive for ODG. She works with clients transitioning from legacy ODG to get them onboarded to ODG by MCG. Some fun facts about Suzanne: she's an avid CrossFitter, a single mom to a beautiful 17-year-old daughter, and obsessed with her 2 pugs, Champ and Zoe. Suzanne, you can take it from here.
Great, and thank you, Daphne. Just to confirm, Daphne, can you see my screen?
I can, yep.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and welcome to the April Introduction to ODG by MCG, which is the new release from ODG. So as many of you may know, we were acquired by MCG Health in January of 2017. MCG is the leading provider of evidence-based care guidelines for group health, while we lead the workers' comp and disability market as the evidence-based claims and analytics provider. One of the assets of being a part of MCG Health is that we're also a part of the Hearst Corporation. Hearst is a media conglomerate with newspapers, magazines, television, but they also have business entities, one of which is Hearst Health. So in addition to MCG Health, this also includes companies such as First Databank, MedHawk, and Zinx. Together, we touch over 200 million lives, or 2 out of 3 Americans. Now, as a media company, one of their core philosophies is that business media should reflect consumer media. Just because it is technical doesn't mean it should feel that way. It should be fast, fun, and easy to use. So they invested heavily in our new user interface, ODG by MCG. Today, I will be providing a high-level demonstration of the web version of ODG and all of the available tools and features of what we have to offer. But keep in mind that everything you see today is designed for integration and automation into your case, claims, and EMR systems. If you're interested in learning more, please let us know and we will contact you after the webinar. So what we're looking at is the ODG by MCG home screen. And what we've done with this new site is we've brought all the super content directly to you. So taking a tab-based approach, ODG by MCG ensures that users will never again feel lost or overwhelmed by the massive amounts of ODG data, evidence, and content tools. We still included the 3 main components of ODG: disability, duration, and return to work, evidence-based medical treatment, and cost. Now, the reason we bring these 3 areas of content to you is because they're all interrelated. The biggest driver of cost, particularly in a workers' compensation or disability claim, is claim duration. The longer that claim is open, the higher the cost. And the best thing we can do to keep those costs down is to manage disability duration and return to work, but also, most importantly, through the provision of evidence-based medical care. If you get the wrong care or have to wait too long to get any care, that is what will drive your costs through the moon. Now, these 3 content areas represent the tabs up above. We have disability duration and return to work on the left, evidence-based medicine spans the 3 tabs in the middle, and then cost modeling on the right. You can access ODG content from the home page several different ways. You can select one of the top 15 diagnoses or the top 15 medical treatments. And these lists are configurable. So if you're seeing certain diagnoses or procedures frequently that are not on this list, we can include those for you. You can also select a yellow node from this body to the corresponding body system. A good example would be elbow, knee and leg, shoulder. You can scroll up and also select one of these green buttons to do a quick search for either duration, treatment, or cost. But the easiest way to find content in ODG is to use the search bar up top where you can search by topic or by code. Now we wanted to make this search function as easy as possible for the end user, so the default search is to medical topics. And a good example would be low back sprain. So I can type in my topic and it will automatically start populating guidelines associated with this topic below. However, if you prefer or do have a specific diagnosis code, you can do so simply by selecting this codes drop-down box and then select the ICD-9 or ICD-10 and complete your search. So I'm going to go ahead and select my medical topic, low back sprain. And the first tab I see is the duration tab, and this is where my disability and return to work projections are populated for me. And those projections include two different data sets. We have the average or A value, which is the average return to work time frame. Now this is what you will see in a typical claim and best used for retrospective benchmarking. And then the B value, which is the best practice return to work time frame. This is the date that you should aim for or manage to for optimal clinical and return to work outcomes. This is also best used for proactive claims or case management. This also includes your return to work management timeline, and this will indicate your initial day out of work, your average day out of work, and then your best practice day out of work. And then it shows you that in order to meet that best practice day out of work, a return to work prescription should be issued anytime up to, but no later than day 7. And this dynamic timeline is configurable. So if you want to remove or add any elements, you can do so. And a good example would be like when you want to engage a nurse case manager or IME. Now, one of the best things you can do with ODG is to share the content with everyone involved on the claim. It puts everyone on the same page so everyone knows the expectations. It makes it a lot easier for you to achieve your goal. There are multiple ways to print and share this content. You can select the print icon to print the page as is with all the content and graphics as they appear on the site. Or you can convert it to a return to work prescription form, which allows you to include a job function evaluation form. I can include the diagnosis, and then down here I can enter in my name, my employer name, my desired method of contact, the employee name, any claim number, the physician name, and then things like the date of injury, date of surgery if applicable. And then down here, I can insert any comments that I'd like to share. I can write my own personalized note, or I can simply insert the ODG recommended text, which simply reads, Dr. Jones, please review the enclosed ODG guidelines, etc. Now this text, this text box can also be configured for your own message that you would like to include. And then scrolling down, this includes your best practice return to work of 10 days. And then below that, it includes the recommended capability and activity modifications, which are broken down into modified and regular duty. And these are condition specific. So since we're looking at a low back sprain, these restrictions will include how long you can sit, stand, lift, and how often. But if we were looking at carpal tunnel syndrome or a rotator cuff tear, those restrictions and modifications would be specific to those diagnoses. Now, it is important to include this information because you want all return to work to be safe and effective. And then after I'm satisfied with all that information that I've entered, I can go ahead and select Create Printable Document, and I now have the option to print this document and or save it as a PDF for sharing, which includes all the information and goals that we just entered in a nice, easy to read document. So this includes that general information, the job description, which I'll get back to in a moment, the comments, the diagnosis, the best practice dates, and then the recommended modification, and then at the bottom, a signature where the physician can sign off and date this form. Essentially, this is an easy way to export and share these ODG return to work goals, because we've had some feedback from our clients and found one of the most effective ways to share this form is to pose it as a question. So something like, Dr. Jones, do you agree with these return to work timeframes and the diagnosis? If yes, great. If not, that's okay too, because you created the dialogue which can open the door to things that you may not know about the claim. And from a treating provider perspective, this can even be used at the point of care in order to set goals for the patient. Now, I did include the job function evaluation form, which is optional, and this can be completed manually. It allows the provider to review and ensure the injured worker will follow specific guidelines for a safe return to work, just in case any of the previous restrictions and modifications included above were missing any specifics. Also displayed on the Duration tab is the Risk Assessment Score. Now, the Risk Assessment Score is one of the most powerful tools within ODG. This is a predictive modeling tool that measures the relative risk level for each claim. So you can use this data to prioritize your interventions, putting your best resources on the highest risk claims first, and then working your way down. The Risk Assessment Score is scored from 0 to 100, 0 being lowest risk level claim and 100 being highest risk level claim. Now, when we say risk, what we mean by risk is the likelihood the claim will become problematic and costly. The Risk Assessment Score is generated based on two equally weighted components of magnitude and volatility. Magnitude is the ODG projected number of days out of work, and volatility is the difference between a good outcome claim and a poor outcome claim. Those risk scores have been shown to identify about 15% of your claims that will ultimately account for over 80% of total dollars. So this tool provides you a large window of opportunity to identify those claims early so that you can get the right resources in place and optimize the return you get on every dollar and every hour you spend on case and claims management. Now, what we're looking at here is at the diagnosis level. We can manage to the claim level by scrolling up and selecting this Refine button to refine our search with claim level data. With Legacy, we've always been able to select a job class, which is great, and you can still do so. But a couple months ago, we released a job profiler, and now you can enter a specific job title. So to show you what that looks like, I'll go ahead and type in bus driver as an example. And then I'll get a drop-down window of several similar titles associated with bus driver, and then I can select the one that fits best. I'll go ahead and select this top one. And then I can also include other factors such as the state the claimant is located, the age, which is a significant factor as it will have an impact on the return to work projections, the date of injury, and then down below I can also select any of these 9 confounding factors. And the reason we have this list is because we found that these factors are the most common and have the most impact on return to work projections. So I'll go ahead and select depression, smoker, and then you can also add claim type. So this defaults to include all ODG data, but you can select only workers' comp or disability if you choose. So scrolling down, I now have my return to work projections that are specific for all those factors, including the job title, the age, the state. You can see how my projected time out of work has increased. The risk assessment score has also gone up. And because I entered in bus driver, it's highlighted a return to work path for me. But if I need more information, I can go ahead and select this job profile tab. And this is where I can get specifics on this job description. So I have that full job description. I get a breakdown of the demand of this job description on the different body systems. And then below that, I also get a breakdown of the physical demands in an average 8-hour shift. It also provides me with a job demand score of 75. And that means that a bus driver's job duties are more demanding than 75% of the jobs that are out there. Now, this information is easily shared. So if I do want to share this job profile, I can simply select the Share Job Profile Now button. And this is where I can enter my company name, my email address, my first and last name, the claim number, and then I can enter in the employer's name, their email address, and again, their first and last name. And then down below, there's a generic note that I can personalize or simply leave as is. And then with a click of a button, I can go ahead and share this job profile. And this is really good to share with the employer because they can become aware of the exact job description of their employees as well as the physical demands so they can make informed decisions for early return to work. So once you select a job title, it is included in the return to work prescription. So I'll quickly show you how that's displayed, selecting the return to work prescription. Oh, didn't show up. Usually that job description is in there. I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry for the glitch. But this will, when you enter that job title, it will show up in that job description. Okay, so all that I've just shown you with the job profile is included in your ODG by MCG license. This is an enhanced version to this platform called, there is an enhanced version to the platform. It's called Job X. It is available as an upgrade, which would be a good option if you want to customize your job descriptions or provide more physical demand analyses. Employers could subscribe, or carriers, TPAs, and then other service providers could also sponsor access for their employer clients. And then last note on the refined search, if your claimant has multiple diagnoses or any other underlying condition that may impact their physiological healing process, you are not limited to those 9 confounding you're not limited to the 9 confounding factors below. You can include that, and to show you how I would do that, I'll go ahead and type in knee sprain, and then I can select from my hits below. So now we're looking at a patient that has a low back sprain and a knee sprain, and then you can see how down below it impacts the projected time out of work. The risk assessment score has increased. And then scrolling down, you'll see that we've provided return to work pathways. So in addition to the computer-generated values, if you prefer to drill down a bit further into the claim, you can use any of these return to work pathways for management purposes to change that best practice value. Down below, you'll see that this includes a list of the ICD-9 codes, as well as the ICD-10 codes that are associated with low back sprain and knee sprain because we search by medical topic. So this is a value add to ODG by MCG versus legacy version. You were forced to choose an ICD code, which presented a challenge because there's so many ICD-10 codes. So with ODG by MCG, you have the option to search by medical topic, and then all associated codes are connected to that topic and listed here. And then below that are the recommended capability and activity modifications that I reviewed in the return to work prescription. We've also added some consumer-facing content, specifically videos. These videos are short animated overviews on the diagnosis in layman's term provided by Visual Health Solutions. They're about 30 to 60 seconds in length. And just to show you what it looks like, I'll go ahead and click on the video.
The bones that make up the spinal column are called vertebrae. They are also named for their locations. The cervical vertebrae are in the neck. The thoracic vertebrae are in the upper back. And the lumbar vertebrae are in the lower back. The bones at the bottom of your spinal column, called the sacrum and the coccyx, make up your tailbone. Experiencing back pain usually means you have injured the ligaments or muscles attached to the vertebrae. Common causes include twisting motion.
So that's a great resource to educate injured workers on their diagnosis so they get a better understanding of what this means. Another great resource for educating injured workers as well as non-clinical personnel is our long-standing partner, Medline Plus. So I can click on the link where it will take me to the Medline Plus website for referential information, full color anatomical pictures on the diagnosis, gives me a summary, goes over the diagnosis and tests, treatments, etc. This also converts to Spanish, and then you can print and or save as a PDF to share. And then lastly, we interface with Wiser Together, providing the return to health application. And this is bringing a consumer-friendly approach to allow the injured worker to participate in their own recovery. So this is automatically added when you get ODG by MCG for 60 days, at which point you can decide if you'd like to continue it and add it permanently to your plan. So this is going to lay out what treatments are going to be best for their diagnosis, which treatments would be good, and then of course if there's poor treatments that are suggested. They're all rated by the patients themselves, so they get engaged, they get educated, and they participate in their path to return to health. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and jump on over to the Cost tab. And just a quick note, you'll notice that when you search criteria in ODG by MCG, a green check mark is going to appear on the tabs that have relevant data associated with that criteria. So on the Cost tab, this is first broken down by total cost, and that includes the indemnity, medical, and expense and administrative costs. And what's driving these costs are all the input factors up here, and what's driving the costs are our collection and analysis of about 5 million workers' comp insurance claims. The indemnity projections are based on the ODG projected days out of work, and then that's multiplied by 2/3 of the average weekly wage. The average weekly wage is driven by the state that is selected, and right now we're looking at a California claim. But if you know the exact weekly wage, you can override that by entering that up here. And then the system will recalculate those costs for you. The medical provides you with a sum of the overall costs that would be tied to the nature of this diagnosis that you could expect. And then the expense and administrative costs gives you an idea of projected administrative surveillance, legal expense, or any admin costs for this claim. If it is medical only, you can account for that by simply selecting the medical only, and this will automatically remove the indemnity costs. And then you'll also notice that the medical costs are reduced pretty significantly, because what we have found is one of the best things an injured worker can do is return to work. This eliminates them from falling into a treatment trap or disability mindset, getting prescription after prescription, which really may not be effective. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select the treatment tab next. Now I have my low back sprain and knee sprain pinned up top. So now what is populated below are any treatments that could be performed for the low back or knee injury. And it lists all the treatment options alphabetically. But now you have the option to filter these results, and they can be filtered by recommendation type, broken down into 3 categories of recommended, not recommended, or still under study. So if I want to look at recommended treatments, I can select that here. And now I'm only looking at those recommended treatments for knee and leg and low back injury. I can also filter by category. So if I only want to see which injections are recommended for the knee and leg and low back injuries, I can do so by selecting that here. Now once I find the guideline that I want to review, I can simply click on the link and it will open up the treatment guideline, where I can see that this is conditionally recommended as a possible short-term treatment of radicular pain, and that's followed by Odg criteria highlighted in blue. And this is patient selection criteria. And this means that in order for the ESI to be recommended, the patient must meet all the criteria highlighted in blue. And then below that is the evidence summary. And this is where we summarize all the different evidence that supports these recommendations. Each study contains a link. So I can click on that link and it pulls up a full citation of that study. It provides me with the rating as well as the PMID number. And when I click on that PMID number, it takes me to the National Library of Medicine's PubMed database, where I can see the complete abstract. You can copy and paste, print, include this in your reports. You can also use it to start a conversation with the treating physician or to educate an injured worker advocating for or against medical treatment. But whatever you use it for, you will have instant credibility, because this is the actual medical evidence that backs up that recommendation from the treatment guidelines. You can easily share this information by copying and pasting into reports, or you can select the print icon to print and or save as a PDF. So that's a quick overview on how to find and use the treatment guidelines. You can also type in whatever you're looking for. So let's say that you want to see physical therapy for the low back. I can type that in here and then select from my hits below. And of course, you can see that physical therapy is recommended for a low back injury. The Odg criteria highlighted in blue provides recommendations on number of visits. And these visits are based on what the particular diagnosis is. Also, is it just medical, post-injection, or post-surgical treatment? So these will provide you with the baseline of what you can expect to see, but they are guidelines. They're meant to guide care. There will be patients that fall outside of these guidelines. Some patients may heal quickly and need less visits. Some may be showing documented functional improvement, so it would make sense to authorize more visits than what Odg indicated. And then conversely, you may have patients that have been receiving physical therapy for years, but they're not improving. So this gives you some sort of evidence-based reasoning as to why you could suggest discontinuing the physical therapy and perhaps move forward with an alternative type of treatment that may be more effective. So now that we selected these guidelines, you'll notice that both of them are pinned up here. Again, making it easy to share this information. You can print these, save them as a PDF for sharing, copy and paste this into your notes in your claim systems, or you can copy the URL to save to your favorites on your web browser, your notes in your claim systems, or in a Word document so you can pick up right where you left off. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the Home tab for a moment. And this will clear out all my previous search criteria. So keep that in mind. When you select the Home tab, it will refresh so you can begin anew. From here, I'm going to select back sprain. And then from here, I'll go ahead and select the Tau Index tab. Now, if you're familiar with legacy ODG, this is really the next generation of the UR Advisor. Tau stands for Treatment Analyzer on Outcomes. So for a given diagnosis, this maps all the procedures that could be performed for the diagnosis, and it's sorted by incidence. And what's driving this information in this tool is the collection and analysis of about 5 million workers' comp insurance claims. So this includes information on the procedure name, the group, the data like frequency, how common this procedure is, the number of visits, the cost, and then the three most important components of the Tau Index are the payment flags, the authorization number of visits, and the Tau Index. Now the payment flags is a color-coded flag system designed to streamline the treatment approval process. There are 4 colors these flags can be: green, yellow, red, and black. So any procedure with a green flag simply means that it's recommended for automatic approval based on ODG because it is an evidence-based approval. Not only does the data show these are commonly performed, proving that these procedures are effective, but there's plenty of high-quality randomized controlled trials as well, and it's recommended for automatic approval up to the number of authorized visits to the left of the flag. Anything that triggers a yellow flag, these are categorized as data-driven approval, and a good example would be a cold pack. So this is a yellow flag. ODG recommends automatically approving up to the authorization number of visits. And what a yellow flag is telling us from the data collected for a cold pack is that this is a commonly performed procedure. It's inexpensive, it's not harmful, and it has positive outcomes. So ODG recommends automatically approving because the time and cost to review would override the cost of the procedure. Anything that triggers a red flag, those are procedures ODG recommends reviewing before approving them. And a good example of that would be work conditioning. So this doesn't mean that red procedures should not be approved. It just means that an actual person should take a look at this case and determine whether it's necessary or not. This is a high-cost procedure that works very well for certain candidates if they meet certain criteria. So a nurse or a reviewer can look at this and determine if it's necessary or not. And a great resource to assist in making that decision are the full-text treatment guidelines that we just reviewed. Anything that triggers a black flag procedure, anything that triggers a black flag are procedures that ODG recommends to route for further review with caution. Black procedures are treatments that you would really not expect to see very often, and a good example would be arthrodesis. So arthrodesis mapped to a low back sprain is not something that you would normally see. Now what's new in the Tau Index is the Tau score. So one of the advantages of being in the workers' compensation and disability markets is that we have access to outcomes data, and that data is returned to work. And what we've done is analyze each of these procedures as it correlates to return to work, and we've given them a tau index score. And this score ranges from 100 in the positive to 100 in the negative. The higher that score is in the positive, the better the return to work outcomes that are correlated to that procedure. The lower that score is in the negative, the worse the return to work outcomes are. So this can be used as additional decision support in order to determine if a treatment procedure is required or not. So if a procedure triggers a red flag but has a high tau score, that may be something you are more likely to approve. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and select the Drug Formulary tab. And just a quick note on the drug formulary, this is not condition-based. In other words, we don't want you to think that the drugs you're looking at are specific to the condition that you've plugged in. The drug formulary is where we get medication guidance. And how this formulary came to be, we indexed all the drug therapies found in the treatment guidelines, pulled them out, and put them in an easy-to-interpret and easy-to-implement formulary. And then we have them categorized by drug class, generic name, brand name, any notes, which we keep to a minimum but try to include them where necessary. The generic equivalency indicates whether or not there is a generic equivalent approved by the FDA. And then the most important part of the formulary is the status column. So this is where you will see if a drug is recommended as a first line of treatment in ODG. Green is yes, red is no. Although an N drug may be recommended as a second line of treatment. And then lastly, we include the cost of these drugs for a typical course of treatment. Now, if you want more information as to where these costs are derived, you can go ahead and open up the formulary information sheet where you can scroll down and read more about the cost and source, as well as a detailed summary of how each cost is derived from the number of milligrams to the number of doses, as well as the days of therapy. You can also filter the formulary by drug class. So maybe you only want to look at benzodiazepines. You can do that here. And then you can even search out a specific drug. So here I can type in OxyContin as an example. And then at any time, I can go ahead and expand these lines, and it will bring up the full treatment guidelines supporting this drug status and recommendation, as well as all, as well as a list of all the NDC codes associated with the given drug. Also included and married to the drug formulary is the opioid MED calculator, or the morphine equivalent dosing calculator. And this is where I can plug in how many milligrams per day a patient is taking of any of the following drugs. So to show you how it works, let's say the patient is taking 100 milligrams of codeine, 20 milligrams of fentanyl, and then this will provide the morphine equivalent dosage for each of the individual drugs. And then at the bottom, it provides the combined total. And this also includes the ODG opioid dosing guidelines. So ODG does not recommend that any patient take more than 100 milligrams per day. It also, MED per day, also recommends caution for patients taking more than 50 MED per day. So this provides you an overview of all the different tabs included in the ODG by MCG solution. I'd also like to quickly highlight the training options that are included by ODG by MCG. So from the home page, I can go ahead and select any one of these tabs without entering any search criteria. And you'll see a video on whichever tab that you selected. These videos are about 3 to 4 minutes in length, and it walks you through in detail how to navigate through each of the tabs. At the top of the screen, there is a help and training drop-down window. This includes a link to sign up for these monthly live introduction to ODG webinar. There's also self-paced training, as well as further information and guides for use and reference, along with a link to the ODG help desk, or if you prefer, the telephone number to the ODG help desk. So that wraps up my overview of ODG by MCG. I want to thank you for your time today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Daphne for questions and comments.
All right, thank you so much, Suzanne. That was great. I do have a question here. Is ODG by MCG only available online? And if not, what other options are available?
So yes, ODG is available online. We do not print ODG. It can be automated and integrated into your case, claims, and health management systems via web services or state-of-the-art API, which is Application Programming Interface. So if you're interested in learning more, please let us know and a representative will be in touch with you.
Okay, thanks. And how long will the other ODG site, the legacy site, be around, and will it be updated?
So right now we are running both sites simultaneously for the foreseeable future. We do plan to phase out legacy ODG sometime in 2020. However, there is no definitive date set as of yet. But of course, legacy ODG will continue to be updated as long as it is up and running.
All right, great. What if I can't find what I'm looking for in ODG by MCG?
This is a good question because I get lots of emails for the same. So if you're unable to find a topic in ODG, chances are that it's there, but it may be a slight difference in terminology. So the best thing to do is to reach out to your account executive or the ODG help desk so we can assist you. If that topic is not in ODG, then we can forward a request to the Editorial Advisory Board for review. And then if there is an update due to that request, we will email you and let you know.
All right, great. And does ODG by MCG offer single sign-on?
Absolutely, and this is included as part of your access instructions when you purchase your license to ODG by MCG.
Okay. How does licensing work and how much does it cost?
Well, like all MCG products, ODG by MCG is an organizational solution, and those rates are based on organizational type and size or volume. So if you're interested in a customized quote, you can reach out to your account executive. If you're not sure who that is or you're new to ODG, you may contact the ODG help desk via email or by phone, and we'll connect you with a representative.
Okay. Is further training available for my staff?
Yes, so training is included with your license to ODG and is provided via webinar. We also have an implementation specialist that can perform an on-site visit and provide a guidelines assessment as well as on-site training for your entire staff, and this ensures that you're getting the maximum value of ODG.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Most of my claimants have multiple diagnoses. How would I account for this?
So depending on what you're seeking, but I'll just go over and show you real quickly.
Go back in your screen.
Oh,
Suzanne?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you could show us your screen, that'd be great.
Sorry about that. Okay, so for multiple diagnoses, you can start on the Home tab, type in your first topic first, as I did earlier, and then select from your best hits below. And then you would just simply add that up here. And then if this person had a surgery, you could add that in as well. This will allow you to pin up to 10 diagnoses and procedures up at the top, so keep that in mind. You are not just limited to those 9 confounding factors below.
Okay, great. I think this is the last question that we have time for today. I noticed this site only shows 2 data sets, but the other ODG had 3. Why the change?
This is a good question too, and one that we get asked quite a bit. So one of the biggest complaints that most users had with Legacy was that it was difficult to know what values to use. The Legacy site has several values, and it's a challenge to know when to use what value or what each value really meant. So the new site, by showing only 2 values, makes it simple to manage a claim. And in the end, having data simply to have it is not the best approach. Rather, it is better to make the data we do have usable, such as in this case, the idea of managing to best practice and benchmarking against the average. Having just 2 values makes it super simple to manage a claim, and yet we can always provide the other values to those clients that feel it adds more value if we need.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. And thank you for the very informative presentation. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance. I think we got to everything, but if there's any questions that we didn't get to, we will email you with a response. And for more information, please reach out to your ODG account manager or contact our help desk at odghelp@mcg.com or 1-800-488-5548, or go to our website at mcg.com/ODG. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.